Hello, good morning everyone. It's Monday again, November 19th. Oh, I'm sorry. It's November 17th. I'm sorry. I was out of the date already. So, we're back on our lesson for our Maritime English for our 43rd day 1. And our topic for today is all about collision. So, in the past weeks, we had already discussed about marine engine failure, firefighting drill, oil spill drill, the man overboard drill, we have abandoned ship drill, and the last two was about enclosed space entry drill and the stowaway drill. So for today, we will discuss about collision. Yes, the part one of collision of our 43rd weekday one of our maritime English lesson, of course. So let's begin with our lesson. And for today, yes, collision is for collision at sea. All right. So with regards to the agenda of for today, we will discuss about the introduction to collision. Okay? And then also the types of collisions. All right? And then we have the causes. So of course, if there are types of collisions, there are causes of this, why it happens, okay, and the rules and regulations, and then we have the role of the bridge team. Of course, there's always be a team when it comes to collision drill. All right, and the last part is of course the summary and the recap. And for the very last part of today's lesson is our Q&A. So it is just a test if we had an idea of the discussions made. Alright. So let's begin with the introduction to collision. Okay. Okay. So the objective of the collision drill lesson is, of course, basically, we have to know what is collision, okay? Both in general and in maritime contexts. And of course, what's important here is that we have to understand, okay, the awareness in navigation and communication when it comes to collision. Okay? And we have to learn the different maritime vocabulary words, of course, related to collision and ship operations. Okay? And then we also have to recognize, all right, the role of the the body, the International Maritime Organization, on how we implement and how to prevent collisions, okay, at sea, no? And then we have to practice using the phrases, the English phrases that the IMO uh, use when it comes to reporting and the watchkeeping all about collision. Okay? So those are the the five objectives of our lesson for today. All right. Now, of course, number one is why it is important. Okay? And the importance of collision awareness. Okay. Number one is, of course, the safety of life. The safety of the crew is the most important. Okay? The safety of the crew, safety of the life, not just the crew. If you are in a passenger ship, the safety of the passengers also, and the vessel itself. Okay? All right. So, we have to protect the property, meaning aside from the life, from the crew, the passengers, we have to protect the property, meaning the 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 cargoes, the ship or the vessel itself. All right, and it also says that environmental protection. Of course, if there's, for example, a collision and there's oil spill, okay? So, we have to protect the environment also because there are fish, all right? So, aside from that, there are corals also in the water. And why is it also important? Because basically it is a legal compliance. We have to follow the rules and regulations. All right? So, to be efficient, okay, during navigation, okay, we have to avoid collision and we have to be aware, all right, of the rules and regulations implemented by the IMO or the International Maritime Organization. All right. So, yes, what is collisions basically? Yes. Collision, this is an event, all right, in which in general, two or more objects, one and two objects strike each other. That is in general. That is collisions or collision. Okay? But at sea, a collision refers specifically to the impact, okay, between the two vessels. For example, this is the vessel A and this is the vessel B. So the impact between these two vessels, okay, whether if it is in motion or stationary, and it results in damage or in danger, that is what we meant by collision. Okay? Impact, okay, of two vessels. Now, there are several types of collisions. Okay. Excuse me. So, this is the impact of two vessels. All right. While navigating, okay, there are navigational errors. Okay? There are mechanical failures that resulted to collision and another human negligence. All right. So, these are just examples of the causes why there are collision at sea. The impact between two vessels. Navigational errors, there's a mechanical failures, and human negligence. All right, let's move on. Why do we have to study collision? All right, here, of course, to avoid misunderstandings. Okay? The communication skills between the crew of this vessel A and the crew on the other vessel, the vessel B. So that is very important. The communication skills. Why? To avoid misunderstandings. Okay? Next, why do you have to study collision? To file a clear and professional reports. Okay? The reporting should be accurate. Okay? It should be precise. It should be clear and in a professional manner. Alright? Next, the proper commands and warnings. Of course, for the safety's efficiency. Okay? If there's a proper command, alright, from the vessel A, and there's a warning from the vessel A, there will be a fast, okay? There will be a fast and safe communication to the other vessel. Alright? And then, lastly, why do we have to study collision? To enhance readiness of the crew. Okay? Professional competence. That's why before we go on board, there are trainings. There are certificate of competence made by the crew before they go on board. Right? Okay. Now, I mentioned earlier the International Maritime Organization, the IMO. What are or what is their view on about collision? IMO, this is their logo. Okay. Yes, just a little background about the IMO. It was established in 1972, collision regulations. Okay? And then, of course, they promotes BRM, the Bridge Resource Management. And then, they requires the standard marine communication phrases. Okay? One language, international language to follow. Even if we are Filipinos, even if we are Koreans, even if we are Japanese, Australians, or whatever is our nationality, we have to follow the standard marine communication phrases or what they call the SMCP. Alright? And then lastly, the IMO encourages reporting and investigation if there's collision. Okay? So let's move on. Alright. This is now the vocabulary words number 1 for our English practice. We have ship. Of course, everyone knows this, the ship. The meaning of the ship, this is a large vessel, okay? Which is designed, of course, to carry cargo or passengers by sea. This is the ship. Next is what we call the vessel. This is any craft which is capable of being used for transportation on water, including we have ships, we have boats, all right? We have cargo vessels, okay? We have container vessels here. So those are examples of a vessel. Any craft capable of being used for transportation on water from one country to another or one port to another, including ships and boats. All right. Now we have here the bridge. Of course, the contact center or the control room of the ship that is navigated. The bridge. This is the brain of our vessel. The control area, control center, all the gadgets, the radar, the steering wheel, everything is in here. Your computers, all right? And when we say watch, this is a period of duty assigned to all, to everyone, crew members, especially on the bridge, of course, to monitor the navigation and lookout. All right? So always remember that. We have the ship, the vessel, the bridge, and the watch. All right. Next. All right. As I said also earlier, there are types of collisions. There are different types. Number one is the head-on collision. As you can see here in the picture, if this is the vessel A and this is the vessel B, head-on, all right? They are front to front sides of the vessels, head-on, collided, all right? That's head-on. We also have the type 2, the crossing collision. If this is the vessel A, she is crossing, all right, the vessel B, and it collided at the back part. Okay, as you can see in the picture, the back part of the vessel. That is crossing collision. All right, because if it hits the front, it's head on, but it's not. So it's called crossing collision. And we also have overtaking collision. If this is vessel A, all right, and she wants to overtake either to the left or to the starboard side, the right side, and it hit, all right, the back part of the vessel B, that is overtaking collision. And the fourth one is the oblique collision. Vessel A and vessel B collided on the side. All right? The starboard side of vessel B, okay, and the left side of the vessel A collided. That is what we call oblique. And allision, collision, if the vessel B collided with a stationary object like the port. That is what we call allision collision. All right? All right. Here. Okay. To make it more clear, head-on collision, as seen in the picture, occurs when two vessels are meeting directly, or nearly directly opposite each other on reciprocal or nearly reciprocal forces. Okay. Now, there are causes of this. All right? Number one is the failure to maintain a proper lookout. All right? So that is human error, basically. Next, the misjudgment of distance or the course. Again, that is human error. And possible also because of poor visibility or radar error. That is mechanical error. All right? So those are the possibilities of the causes of head-on collision. All right? Next. Okay. When it comes to crossing situation, okay, in the picture, it happens when two power-driven vessels are crossing, okay, so as to involve a risk of collision, particularly when they meet at an angle. Okay? So, causes of this is failure for the two vessels to give way, okay, and stand on to the rules of IMO. Okay? Now, that is again a human error. And possible there's a confusion, okay, about who has the right of way. Okay? It's just like we're driving a car. You are crossing a street. So, if nobody, if no one will give way, of course there will be accident. And both drivers are confused of who has the right of way. And lastly, possible is the late decision making of the officer of the watch. So all those I mentioned is all human failure, human causes. Okay? Crossing situation. All right, here, the overtaking situation. This one occurs when a faster vessel approaches, okay, and strikes vessel from behind, either on the left side or on the starboard side. You hit from behind because you are approaching too fast. Excuse me. Okay? So, you were expecting that you can overtake this one, but you were very fast from behind. That's why you were able to hit either this side or this side. Okay, human error again. You had a misjudgment of the distance and speed. Okay? The lack of communication or sound signals. Again, it's a human error. And a poor visibility or blind spots, but still, it is a human error. All right? Because you lack of communication and the lookout of the officer on the watch. That is overtaking situation. Alright. Oblique collision. This one, the oblique collision, refers to two vessels, of course. And they collided at an angle that is not head-on. Because when we say head-on, it's the front part, right? The front part of two vessels. But here, you collided at an angle that is not head-on. Whether you are crossing or whether you are overtaking, all right? So, that is what we call oblique, okay? Oblique collision. Now here, there are causes again. You were able, or the officer on the watch were able to have a late course alteration. Okay? That is one of the causes. And then there's a poor radar interpretation. Right? That's why the officer on the watch wasn't able to anticipate, okay, and interpret the radar. And of course, in all the collisions, mostly it's human error. All right? It's human error. Now, we have here a lesion. This one, as I said earlier, that a lesion occurs when a moving vessel strikes a stationary object such as the dock, the moored vessel, a boat, an offshore, uh, an offshore platform, or a pier. That is a lesion. Okay. Here, it's possible that there's a steering gear malfunction. So this is mechanical. Okay. And also, engine or propulsion failure. Okay. And there's also a human error here during berthing. Maybe the approach of the vessel is too fast. That's why it was the officer on the watch wasn't able to anticipate that she is approaching too fast. And sometimes it's environmental factors involved. A strong wind or the current is too strong, but still the big factor or the cause here is all human error. All right? So, we will compare the minor collision and with the major collision. This is an oblique collision, an example of a oblique collision. So this one is only minor. Alright? Alright. So, there are only small dents happens here. Yes, or scratches on the hull. And then, there's no injuries or pollution happens. Okay? That's why it's only considered as minor. And there's a quick recovery and repair possible here. And of course, this is usually caused by only lost speed contact during maneuvering. Okay, let's go to the major. Yes, as you can see, there's a severe hull damage or sinking is already happening here. And Possible there's a loss of life due to the very strong impact of the very strong impact of the collision, or there's an injury. Okay. And yes, the oil spill, or if there's a cargo damage, there's an oil spill. And lastly, of course, you will need an emergency response. And of course, if that happens, there's a legal investigation that will happen. All right. So, okay. Collision in restricted visibility. Okay. Here, we really cannot uh, we really cannot control once we will encounter a zero visibility. This is an example of a good visibility. The head on, crossing, the overtaking. This one is the restricted visibility. The forward of the beam, or beam, or above the beam. Okay? Here. The collision here is restricted when two vessels fail to detect or identify each other because of the fog, because of the heavy rain, because of the snow, and because it's very dark. That's why they call it a zero visibility. You cannot see anything. All right? So the causes of this is the failure to use your radar, okay, or your AIS properly. And also, there's an inadequate sound signaling, okay? And then the over-reliance on automatic navigation system. You purely rely on your automatic navigation systems, okay? And the reduced situational awareness. So basically, again, zero visibility, we cannot control that because it's nature. But as an officer on the watch, you can do something about it. Okay? Do not purely rely on your radar and your AIS and on your automatic navigation systems. Okay? You also have you also have to have a proper lookout with zero visibility situation to avoid collision. Excuse me. Okay. All right. So, as shown in the picture are the collision scenarios. So, this is the head-on encounter. This is the crossing situation. This is the overtaking situation. This is the elision. And this is the oblique collision. So, what is the purpose of this? All right. Of course, to visually review the different types of collisions scenarios. It to make sure that we can internalize what are the different scenarios so that we can apply this during actual actual situation. Okay? So here we have another set of vocabulary words. No? We have the bow or the bow, the forward or the front part of the ship. Bow. This one. The bow part is usually the part of the vessel that is crushed during head-on collision. Alright. Stern is the back part or the rear part of the vessel. This one. Alright? The back part. Next, the port, of course. Okay, the left hand side of a vessel when facing forward. That is the port side. The left. Okay. Because the right part is the starboard part. And then the lookout, this is the person assigned, of course, to observe and report other vessels or obstacles. Lookout. Aside from the duty officer. Okay? Next. Yes. The causes of collision. Earlier, I mentioned some of the causes of each type of collision. Okay. Yes. Common causes of collisions. One, I kept on mentioning this, excuse, earlier, human error. That's why it's here on the first part. Why usually it's human error? Maybe the crew is over fatigued or simply because of negligence, not performing his duty properly. Fatigue, I don't think so, because all the crew has their own duty time. They have 8 to 12, they have 12 to 4, 4 to 8, and then another 8 to 12. So they have enough time to sleep, to rest. Unless it's really an urgent situation. Okay? Human error. Again, secondly, excuse me, poor lookout. Okay? Poor lookout. Again, it belongs to human error. Alright, another, failure to follow call regs, collision regulations. You failed to follow. Basically, all the basics you did not follow. And another, improper communication. Okay? Improper communication. So, all those belongs to human error. Alright? Human error. Now, let's go to mechanical failure. Another cause of collision. Mechanical. We really cannot control this because it's mechanical. Anytime there will be a malfunction of our engine or anything, our radar, we really cannot control this, but we can prevent. Okay? We can prevent it. For this one, the weather conditions, well, really, because it's acts of nature, acts of God, we cannot control also this one. But as I said, we can prevent. Because every minute, or no, not every minute, every hour, or there are certain hours that weather reports are sent by the different weather stations. If you happen to pass by on that area, you can you can see that there's a poor weather conditions on that place. So, to prevent that, okay, to prevent, as I said, you can redirect, okay? So, even if weather conditions is really unpredictable and we cannot control this one, but we can prevent, okay? We can prevent to avoid collisions, of course. And this one, excessive speed. All right. Again, we can connect this to human error. Okay? So, for misjudgment of distance, again, we will connect that to human error. So, as you can see here, the common causes of collisions are basically human error, right? So we can trim this one, two, three. The most common human error, mechanical failure, and weather conditions. But it all boils down to human error. That is why that is why everyone has a lot of trainings made before you go on board, right? Because it the safety of everyone is all in your hands. Human error. Okay? So, all right. Fatigue, main cause. Long working hours and insufficient rest. You have reduced alertness during watch. Of course, if you're fatigued, over fatigued, that's why you have a delayed reactions to emergencies. Okay? So, negligence also. You ignore, okay? You did not follow the navigational duties. You fail to monitor the instruments like radar. And then, you skip the safety procedures. Hmm. So, that's the number one cause of collision, human error. Because of your negligence. Because, just because you're over fatigued. But this one can be prevented. All this. For as long as you will perform all your duties properly. Alright. So next, how are we going to prevent it? Yes, you have to implement proper rest and schedules. But for this one, you know what, everyone? It's really duly implemented because there are duty hours, okay? And you rotate duties among the crew. This is also implemented also. Use lookout and alarm systems. So, these are all very common to avoid human error, to avoid collisions. Okay? Next, the poor lookout. Again, you have only one lookout on watch. There should be two. Okay. The use of mobile devices are the very cause of distractions. Okay? The use of mobile devices. I don't know why it's allowed nowadays. But there are vessels, or there are officers who doesn't like that. Only they are allowed to hold their mobile devices once they are off duty only. Okay? But during duty hours, it should be not allowed. Okay? So also, because of poor lookout, because of its low visibility conditions. But how are you going to prevent this? Of course, you need to have another lookout. Okay? Next. Okay. Always assign dedicated lookouts. Yes, just as I mentioned. You use binoculars. If you can see if you can see it in the radar, you can use binoculars. Okay? And you have to train the crew to be vigilant, especially if there's a low visibility. You have to be vigilant. Next, yes, the failure to follow the collision regulations. Okay? The common violations is not giving way to stand-on vessels. Yes. The wrong use of navigation lights and the improper crossing of overtaking maneuvers. Now, how are you going to prevent this one? Of course, you have to follow. You have to follow the you have to follow the collision regulations. Okay? And then you conduct the bridge drills and simulations. Okay? And then you have to always follow the right of way rules. Okay? You have to follow. Now, this is all actually a self, you know what I mean? The self training, because basically you really have to follow the collision regulations training. Okay? So those are the reasons why there's collision, because you're not giving way to the other vessel, right? And the wrong use of navigation lights, and also you are not familiar with the the proper crossing and the overtaking maneuvers. Okay? So next is the improper communication. Okay. One example of improper communication is the ambiguous radio calls. Okay? Ambiguous. Excuse me. Okay. When we say meaning ambiguous, is that you're having a not clear radio calls. Okay? You're not using the standard SMCP. Remember that, the standard maritime communication phrases. Okay? And you failed to to inform or to alert the nearby vessels of what's really your intention, if where you're really going to, okay, on what side, okay. So it's really not clear, so there is an improper communication. For example, the other vessel is a Russian vessel or flag, and then the other one is a Filipino carrier flag. So you have to follow the standard maritime communication phrases, okay? So that there will be a clear communication with each other, okay? So, next is, how are you going to prevent? Oh yeah, this one. You have to use the SMCP, okay? And you have to confirm messages via radio or sound signals. And you have to maintain watchful communication with nearby vessels. All right. So let's move to the mechanical failure. Oh, yeah. The common failures is that the rudder or the steering gear malfunctioning. Okay? Or sometimes the propeller failed. Okay? Or sometimes there's a loss of electrical power. Okay? How are we going to prevent it? Yes. We have to have a regular inspection and maintenance of all this mentioned. Regular inspection and maintenance in the engine department. And then you will report it to the deck department for any defect. Okay? Also, you have to have a contingency plan for backup systems. So, again, mechanical failure is partly related to, again, human error. Why? Because mechanical failure is uh is a thing, or is a situation wherein you can prevent actually, okay, to happen. Why? Because you can, or the engine side can regularly inspect and maintain all the engines under, okay? The electrical power, the navigation equipment, the propellers, the steering gears malfunctions, all those you can prevent. So again, it is related to human error. Alright. Now for the weather conditions, the fog, the heavy rains, or the snow, really it's a difficult situation. The strong winds or the current, and we have the rough seas, of course, that reduces the maneuverability. Well, we really cannot control this one. And how are we going to prevent it? Number one is to reduce the speed during restricted visibility. This is now where the master of the ship comes in. Alright? He is now responsible to this. You have to use the radar and sound signals effectively, and with the help of the officers, You have to maintain the additional lookout if weather condition is present. Bad weather conditions, basically, to prevent collision. Okay? So next. So, excessive speed. Okay. Here, in excessive speed, you cannot stop or turn in time to avoid collision. Alright? If you are very fast. Okay? The consequences here is to increase the severity of impacts, of course. And you will have a less time to observe other vessels because you are very fast. Excessive speed. And you cannot stop the vessel right away to avoid collision. Because it's not like and it's not like you're driving a car that you can just step on the brake right away. But for the vessel or at sea, it's really difficult. It's so dangerous if you are not really following the speed, the proper speed. Okay. How are we going to prevent it? Always adjust the speed according to traffic, according to your visibility, and according to, of course, the sea conditions. And how are we going to do that? You have to follow the call regs for the safe speed requirements. Okay? If you are only allowed for the speed of 15 knots during bad weather conditions, you have to follow that. Or less if there's a bad sea condition. Okay? You have to reduce speed. Okay. Now, here for the misjudgment of distance. Of course, here again, this is a human error. Maybe because you have lack of judgment or you are inexperienced to that. You purely rely the you purely rely on the instruments, okay? Without looking outside, without visual confirmation. Of course, aside from the radar, if you are doubtful, you have to have a lookout. You have to have a visual confirmation from the other crew outside to confirm if both ideas or situations matches each other, well, you can prevent collision. Like for example, during nighttime, if there's a heavy fog, okay, do not purely rely on your radar, okay, without visual confirmation. Okay, now, how are we going to prevent it again? You have to use the radar and the ARPA for accurate distance measurement. Okay? And you have to combine instrument readings, yes, from visual lookout. This is what I mentioned now. You have to double check the calculations before altering the course. Yes. So you have to be what? Experienced. Okay? Next is, oh, okay. We have vocabulary words number 3. We have the bridge team, meaning this is the group responsible for safe navigation. Of course, the master, the officer on watch, and the lookout. Okay? That is what we call the bridge team. This officer, the OOW, the officer of the watch, he is responsible for the navigation and safety during a specific watch. Let's say, for example, for the chief officer, if his duty is from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., now next is from 8 to 12, another officer of the watch. Okay? So he can also rest. And then another another duty officer will take place. So this can prevent everything to collision if we will only follow. Okay? We have here the radar. This is a very important instrument in the bridge. That is an electronic system that detects other ships and land objects. Yes, through this radar. But sometimes, but sometimes it's not really 100%. Or please do not rely purely to the radar. You also have to have a lookout outside if you are doubtful of what's in the radar. Okay? And the call regs, the international regulations for preventing collisions at sea. This is very important and you have to follow this one. Okay? So next. The fourth part are the rules and regulations. Okay. So, for the overview of call regs, as I said earlier, it's established in 1972. We have A, B, up to E. Now, for the A, the part 1 is general. The rules 1, 2, and 3. Alright. Now, for the part B, the steering and sailing. That's the part 4, the rule number 4 to rule 19. And for the part C, the lights and shapes. For rule 20 to 31. And for the part D, the sound and light signals. Okay? For 32 to 37. And part E, exemptions. That is 38. All these regulations, everyone should follow. And you have to you have to memorize this one by heart. You have to know all this because this is very important. All right? Next. Now, for the rule number 5, if you happen to see that there's no rule number 5 here, okay? For rule number 5, this is all about the lookout. It focuses here that for every vessel shall at all times maintain a proper lookout by sight, by looking at this and hearing. Okay? Now, as well as by all available means, no? By appropriately in prevailing circumstances and conditions so as to make a full excuse me, appraisal of the situation and of the risk collision. Okay? Proper lookout. Now, the duties of the OOW or the officer of watch, of course, is to observe the traffic visually. How? Through the instruments. Excuse me. And then you have to communicate. You have to report it to any vessel. Okay? Take note of the light. Take note of the sound signal. Okay? And from there, you have to remain alert and avoid distractions. You have to focus if you are the lookout on duty. Sight and hearing. Okay? Now, many, many collisions happens or occur because of the lookout or the officer of watch or the watch keepers because they are inattentive. Okay? Not focused. Maybe they're fatigued or maybe they are distracted by family problems or maybe by the equipment itself. All right? That's why if you are assigned to be the lookout or the watchkeeper or the officer of watch, you have to focus 100% because the safety of all the crew, of all the cargoes, of all the passengers, of the vessel itself is in your hands. Okay? Next. The rule number 6, the safe speed. As mentioned, there's a certain speed to follow. Okay? To avoid collision. Alright. What are the factors affecting the safe speed? Of course, the state of visibility. If there's a fog, heavy rain, if it's too dark outside, that is affected. Okay? The traffic density, if if there's a lot of fishing vessels, especially in Singapore, in China area, there's a heavy traffic because of the fishermen's of the fishermen. Okay, it's heavy traffic in that area, and so of course the maneuverability of the vessel will be difficult. So you have to have a safe speed, and then the proximity to navigational hazards, and then the weather and sea conditions. Oh my, you have to have a safe speed to follow. Okay? So it says here that safe speed is not fixed. Yes. It's a judgment call. Yes. Made by the watch officer based on the situation. Of course. It's not all the time you have to have a safe speed. Only in certain situations. Okay? So next. For rule number 7, the risk of collision. So, it says here that every vessel shall use all available means that is appropriate, okay, to prevailing circumstances, okay, or conditions to determine if there's a risk of collision exists. Okay. Indicators of risk collisions. Now, if there's another vessel remains in the same position on the horizon, okay, constant bearing, that is an indicator of a collision risk. And another is the distance between vessels is rapidly closing. You're very close to each other. that is already an indication that there will be a collision risk. Okay? And also, if the radar shows converging courses, if you can see it in your radar that there are object that is too close to each other, okay, that is already a risk. Okay? Now, so to prevent this one, to prevent the risk, you always have to treat uncertain situations also as potential risks, and then you have to take early precautionary measures, and then you have to have a decisive action. You have to be decisive on what to do. All right? If there's already an indication of collision risks. Okay? So, rule number 8. How are we going to avoid collision? Okay. You have to have enough time here. Okay? With due regards to the observation of with due regards to the observance of good seamanship. How are we going to avoid? You have to take early and substantial action. You have also to avoid small hesitant alterations, of course. Okay? You have to avoid that. If you're not sure of which way you are going to pass, you have to decide immediately on what course you're going to go. Okay? Now, do not create new risks while maneuvering. Okay? Always pass at the distance. Safe distance. Okay? So, for rule number 9, we have a narrow channels. Okay, here. You cannot avoid this one, especially in a canal, like Panama Canal. Okay? You have to, here, that's a narrow channel. Okay? Now, the vessel crossing or proceeding along this course shall keep as near to the outer, okay, limit of the channel, which lies on the right side, the starboard side, as is safe and practicable. Okay? The starboard side. Alright. So here, the small vessels and fishing boats should not impede large vessels. Okay? Should not impede large vessels. Or what we call should not obstruct large vessels. You have to give way because you're very small and you're only a fishing boat. Okay? You have to give way to the large vessels. Do not compete with them. Alright? Of course, to avoid collision. And you have to have a sound signals. Okay? You must use that when overtaking or if you are passing. Okay? And then you have to have an extra caution. Okay? Must be taken when approaching bends. So that's the rule number 9, the narrow channels. You have to go to the, and then not go, you have to keep as near to the outer side limit, the outer limit of the channel, which lies always on the starboard side. That is the safe and the practicable side. Okay? For, of course, the narrow channels. All right. For rule number 10, we have here the traffic separation schemes. Okay. Here, you must proceed to the appropriate traffic lane. Okay, in general direction. Okay. The key guidelines here is you have to follow the direction of the traffic flow. You enter or leave at small angles. Okay? And you do not cross traffic lanes unnecessarily. Alright. Yes. Now, the importance of compliance. What do we benefit from this? Of course, number one is you can prevent accidents and loss of life. That is very important. You can reduce the financial loss and insurance claims, of course. And then you can protect the marine environment. Okay? And you can build professional credibility and discipline. Alright? That's the benefit we can get. Okay. So the fourth vocabulary words here is that the bearing, we have the vessel, the bearing, this is the direction or the angle from your ship to another object or vessel. And then we have the stand-on vessel that must maintain its course and speed. We have the give-way vessel, the vessel that must take early action to avoid collision. Yes, you have to give way. Okay? You have to give way. So you are called the give-way vessel. And the underway, this is the ship that is not anchored, that is not moored, or aground. Alright. So, the role of the bridge team. Okay. The role of the bridge team. Okay. And collision avoidance. We have the bridge resource management, the BRM, the duties of the officer of the watch. We have here the communication between the master and the OOW. And we have the radar watch and AIS monitoring. The use of VHS communication. We have the team coordination. Alright. The bridge team and collision avoidance. Alright. This is the teamwork. That's why it's called bridge team. Comprises of the master, the officer of the watch, and the lookout. Right? Oh yeah, here it's the bridge team. Your goal, of course, to ensure the safety of the navigation. Alright, and the communication is very important. Okay, that is the system, the bridge management, the BRM. That is the system managing all available resources, whether if it is human, if it is technical, and informational, of course, to ensure the safe navigation. Okay. So, the duties of the officer of the watch. Okay. It plays a crucial role. Okay? Crucial role. You must never leave the bridge unattended. Okay? Never leave. Okay. So, as discussed earlier, so communication between the master and the officer of the watch is vital. Okay? It's vital. The master should be the or the standing orders of the master must be followed. The night orders and the OOW must report significantly, especially for weather conditions, for traffic conditions, and the vessel performance. Okay? Now, for the radar watch and AIS monitoring, yes, AIS is the automatic identification system. Okay, you have to monitor that. Okay. This AIS is only a supplemental system. Okay, but does not replace radar or lookout or for the lookout. Okay. So the use of the VHF, the very high frequency radio, is commonly used here for ship to ship and then ship to shore communication. You use that very high frequency radio. Alright? Now, we have also here the team coordination. Okay? The role, the responsibilities, the helmsman, and the lookout, the bridge team meetings. You have to be well coordinated team. Okay? And the common mistakes. Okay, number one is lack of communication. And there's an unclear instructions. Okay, everyone is overconfident. And another, the lookout failed to update the master. And then the lookouts ignores the reports or the alarm. So basically, there's a poor coordination. Okay? Alright. For number 5, English practice, we have the anchorage. This is a safe area. Okay? Where ships anchor temporarily. Okay? And then we have the restricted visibility. Okay? And then the safe speed. Okay? So, this is a situation where vision is limited by fog, the mist, or the heavy rain. The safe speed is allows a vessel to take a proper action to avoid collision. Yes, of course. And, oh my, the collision is when the two vessels or a vessel and object strike each other. Alright. So, for this, the fifth English practice, words are used by the SMCPs. Okay? Now, so, here, the safety reminder, always keep a proper lookout. Of course. Use binoculars, the sound you have to listen, okay? And then for the lookout. Okay? So, we'll go to our Q&A. Alright. So, just checking if you learned something. Okay, so what is the main goal of the bridge team in navigation? Okay, what is the main goal? Of course, it's letter B, to ensure the safe navigation and prevent collision. That is the main goal of the bridge team navigation, right? So what does the term collision means in maritime context? The second, what is the collision means? Of course, accidental contact between two moving vessels. Yes, that is collision. All right, which of the following is an example of allision? Okay, allision. Oh, wow. Letter B. Yes. A vessel striking a stationary pier, a port. Okay, that's allision. So, which of the following is a major cause of maritime collisions? Oh, it's, I'm sorry. It's fatigue and human error. cause of maritime collision. And according to Rule 5 of COLREGS, what must be maintained at all times? Of course, it's letter. Yes, the proper lookout. That should be maintained at all times for the Rule 5 of COLREGS. Okay? And then, what is the main purpose of the bridge resource management? Yes. What is the purpose of the BRM? It's the letter C. You have to promote teamwork, the communication, and of course, the decision making. Okay? The decision making. Okay. Which of the following rules under COLREG refers to safe speed? Of course. It's very simple. It's rule number 7. Safe speed. Always follow that. Alright. For number 8, what should the officer of the watch do when in doubt about the situation? You have to, what? If you're in doubt, if you're the officer of watch, you have to call the master immediately. Okay? You have to call the attention of the master immediately. So, what is the most effective way to prevent a collision at sea? What's your idea for that? All right, it's you have to follow letter C, the COLREGS, and maintain vigilance. Okay? You have to follow. And lastly, what is the key safety reminder emphasized in part 1 of the lesson? Okay. What's the key safety reminder? It's letter B. Always keep proper lookout. Rule number 5. Alright? So, yes, we're done with the part 1 of our collision lesson. And again, um, thank you for listening to our, well, one moment, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you for listening to our topic for today about the collision lesson of our maritime English. And for now, we're done. And again, I'm your teacher for today, Teacher Shelly. And I'll see you all on Wednesday for our part 2 lesson of collision. Because this topic is quite long, so I have to break the part 1 and the part 2 of this. So I'll see you all on Wednesday for our 43rd week, day 2 of our Maritime English lesson. So for now, bye everyone, and I'll stay here and I'll stop here. So, I'm sorry. I'll see you all next time. Okay? Bye everyone. Have a good day.